So I wanted to do a bit of a shoe review today. I've received a couple of pairs of shoes that I wanted to show everybody, and then I wanted to compare them to one of my old favorites, a shoe that I've worn for the New Jersey Super and the Vermont Beast last year. Really the first shoe I want to focus on is one I received yesterday, so I've yet to actually wear this in a race. I've worn it around the house and I've obviously looked it over and checked it out. Any review I've read of the new Reebok sneaker has been at a race or somebody who's actually worn it to do an OCR in. So I wanted to kind of go through and talk about its feature set a little bit, talk about what it can do for you as a shoe before I wear it to a race, and then give a recap later on. So first of all, let's talk about its appearance. It's a handsome enough shoe. It's not an obnoxious bright color. A lot of people really like their obnoxious colors. If you looked at the start line of any elite Spartan race in 2012, everybody had bright red X-Talon 190s because they were the shoe to have. So they stuck out like a sore thumb, and everybody seems to have followed that bright color process over the last year or so. So they're nice enough looking. You could get rid of the lacing and have a pretty muted color for the shoe. I want to start on the bottom and talk a bit about its actual set, the actual sole of the shoe, obviously the business end, the grip itself. So Reebok have done a really good job, I think, on the sole of these shoes. There was an elite level lightweight version of this doing the rounds about 4 or 5 months ago called the Trifecta Racer, and the sole on that wasn't anywhere near as aggressive as this. What I really like about these lugs are pretty deep. They're also spaced apart quite nicely, so there's not going to be a lot of mud getting caught inside and trapped by the lugs, which I have had problems with in the past in some shoes. It also has a rock plate in here, so when you're running, you're going to land on those sharp rocks and it's going to be pretty well protected. That does mean it's not that flexible. It also has these torsion bars or strips across here that will stop that sideways flex. So it's going to give you a lot of protection in the kind of racing we do. I think that's pretty cool. The middle of the shoe, the arch area here, is actually really interesting. This is the first time I've really seen this kind of stuff in an OCR shoe or a trail shoe. The outside edge here is going to give you a lot of grip when you're going up rocks. It's designed to stop that painful jabbing of rocks in the arch of your foot. The inside edge, this yellow area, it's got the same small lugs on it. And this is going to be really, really good on rope climbs. It's going to give you a lot of grip and traction on the rope. So I think they've taken this straight out of their CrossFit range. CrossFit Nanos, they have that same idea to stop the ropes from, to give you that grip on the rope. And then the heel, it's a pretty standard lug pattern on the heel as well. The shoe itself is very lightweight. I would put this probably on a par with an X-Talon 190. It might be a little heavier than a 190, but not by much at all. So it's a very, very easy shoe to get used to. It's not going to weigh you down. But one thing they've really focused on for the OCR crowd with this shoe is water draining. So they've done a really, really good job of giving the shoe plenty of ways to vent water from the shoe. One thing, when we wear trail shoes at OCRs, trail shoes are really designed for trails. They're not designed to go underwater. They're not designed to be submerged necessarily. So when we do a Spartan race or a Tough Mudder and we're jumping in dumpsters full of water or swimming across ponds, that's really not the trail shoes' target. So it's really nice that Reebok have made this specifically for the stuff we'll be doing. So for example, if you can see around the edge of the toe box, there's these little holes. There's 4 on this side and there's 2 on this side. Water will drain right out of those holes. So when you get a shoe full of water, it's just going to vent straight out of there. Also, this blue meshing on the sides, on each side, is see-through. It's just going to wick water right out. Also, the tongue itself isn't attached until you get right to the bottom. So water can come out of here. It also has holes in it, so the water can come straight out of the tongue. So there's going to be a lot of venting of just any water you get in this shoe is just going to come right out. You're not going to be swimming around and get wet socks and that kind of crap. It's going to be really, really nice. Now as to fit, I find I've got big wide feet. I tend to have to buy wide fitting shoes when I'm buying running shoes, especially when you look at the lightweight shoes. They tend to be very narrow in the front. These fit me fine. They are probably on the narrow side for me, which probably means for a lot of elites they might find this a little too wide. But I think this is good for what I use. The heel comes up quite high. You can see how deep the ankle holes that divots here are. So this comes quite high on the back, so you're going to get protection on the back as well. One thing I noticed weird, it doesn't have a grab, it doesn't have a little pull to pull them on. I found that a bit odd to start with. But overall I really like it. One thing that's really weird about this is everything is branded. So by that I mean the water wicking, they have a H2O dry or H2O drain on the front. The plastic webbing where your laces hook into and it pulls it snug around the top of your shoe, that's fit frame. The rubber gripping on the front, DuraGrip. The lugs, 360, 360. The outside edge is a rock guard. The inside edge is obstacle grip. And there's another one back there, another 360 back here. So everything has a label and a brand and a name for whatever reason. So overall though, I really like it. It's a very lightweight, very comfortable shoe that has definitely been adapted specifically for obstacle course racing. This isn't a trail shoe that they just branded as an OCR shoe. They've made this for obstacle course racing. So I think until I've worn it at a race, I can't say, but I would recommend this. It's a really nice shoe. I believe it's coming out in the next couple of months, but I don't know for sure. So I wanted to compare that. I have another shoe that I got at the end of last year, which is also going to be pretty popular. This is the Salomon Fellraiser. Salomon have been around the OCR scene for a while now. Their Speedcross 3s are a very popular go-to shoe for people who are getting into OCR or getting into running and need more support or need more padding, need more structure to the shoe. So the Speedcross 3s, they have a 12mm drop, I guess. Just for reference, I don't know for sure what the Reebok drop is, but I believe it's going to be about 2 to 4mm. By drop, I mean heel to toe. But the Fellraisers, it's probably more like a 6mm drop. They're a little heavier than the Reeboks for sure, but they're certainly not heavy shoes. I would probably put these very much on a par with the Trail Rock 245s I had from Innovate. They're a lot more flexible than the Reeboks because they don't necessarily have a rock plate, but the sole of the shoe is still pretty aggressive. The tread on this is really good. One thing I really like about this, these chevron-shaped grips, on the front they all go forward, so you get mud caught in the back. On the back they all go backwards, so when you're coming down hills the mud gets grabbed. And again, they've got enough spacing between them that they don't get choked up with mud. The upper itself is a lot more structured than the Reebok. There's a lot more plastic around the outside edge, which means water isn't going to drain so easily. It certainly doesn't have any drainage holes or anything like that. But the toe box is a bit more protected. It also doesn't have a tab on the back. It's not as high on the back of the shoe, your foot either. And the heel isn't quite so deep. So maybe not so much range of motion, but that's not been too much of a problem. The toe box itself is nice and wide. I have no problems with the fit of the shoe. It's a very comfortable shoe. And the tongue itself, while the tongue isn't attached until the bottom, so water can get in and out, it does have a guard. It does have a piece of fabric right up the inside here that stops debris, rocks, gravel getting in. One thing that Salomon have on almost all of their shoes, as far as I know, is this speed lace. So the speed lace is a very thin, almost cable-like lacing that you cinch down, walk off, and then tuck it into a pocket in the tongue here. It's a gimmick. I'm not sure I like it. I've had to pull it up and tighten it down in the middle of races before. I've not had. It's not a fantastic fit for me. If I was wearing these all the time, I'd probably put regular lacing in it. But it's a nice, solid choice for shoes. It's much more minimal than the Speedcross 3s in the Salomon range. It's not as aggressive or as narrow as the Fell Cross shoe in the Salomon range. So it's right in the middle of those two, and they consider this their OCR shoe. They consider this something that they specifically want to wear for OCRs. So I like it. It's a very nice shoe. It's very comfortable. Now the next shoe I want to show you, the last shoe I want to show you, is an Icebug Spwider OLX. I got this last year. I raced the New Jersey Super and the Vermont Beast and the Hurricane Heat and Amesbury in it, and it would take a lot for me to say this isn't my main favorite racing shoe. Now the reason I say that, this shoe does have issues. It's not perfect, but you can't beat the grip. If you can't see that on camera, each line on the sole here has little metal carbide tips in it. So those bite into anything. The grip they offer is just nothing like these other guys can do. The only problem with that is that you sound like a horse with metal hoofs coming down a street or a tarmac, so you don't really wear these on the road. But if you're in the mountains, if you're going up a muddy trail, if you're climbing on a wooden obstacle, this is just, the grip is ridiculous. I can walk up a 45-degree wall or a sloping wall without the rope. They are flexible, but not fantastically flexible. They're certainly heavier than the other two shoes. I believe I'd put these somewhere in the range of a Trail Rock 295, maybe a 300, a little lighter than a 300. The heel to toe drop on these is about 4 mil, and the toe box is a little narrow. I had to break them in a little bit, but they're very, very well constructed. They're not going to tear. My X-Talon 190s from Innovate ripped after 3-4 races because they were too narrow. These are not going to do that. The biggest drawback I have with these is when they get submerged in water. The fabric that they've used, it doesn't absorb water, it repels water, but that's only good until you've actually submerged your foot. Then it fills up, and the water doesn't come out through here. It does come out through the unattached lace, it's unattached tongue, so it comes up through the laces here. But it does mean that my foot will stay wetter for longer wearing these than it will in the other shoes. Having said that, I can walk up walls. When you come to a 9-foot wall, you just stick your foot in it and you can push right off the foot. It's that much level, that serious level of grip. So those are the 3 shoes that I've got and I wanted to show you. I'm going to be testing this guy at a race in the next couple of months probably. If I run on trails or run outside, I'll try it, just even as a road shoe, I'll give it a try. You can see right from the picture here, this is the widest toe box, and then these guys are about the same for the width of the toe box. I wouldn't worry too much about that because my flat feet are okay in all of them. So usually that means if they're good for me, they're going to be good for pretty much everybody else. They're all relatively minimal. They're all extremely grippy and aggressive when it comes to the tread. So I would say you can't go wrong with any of them. But for me, at a race, the grip of the Icebug is second to none. So still my favorites. I'll give these a good shot. I like the Salomons, but we'll see which one of these two win. So there you go. Thank you.